And hello everyone, welcome back to your Meteor tutorial. Today we will be discussing how to add new items to our list here. We need to have some sort of input that will take in some items and then store it inside of our database, and then it should display here. We also want the latest one that has been added to be at the top and not at the bottom or in the middle, but at the top. So let's get started with that. Before we do get started, however, I would like you to take note that here in my main.css, it will look a little bit different compared to the one you have. But for each lesson here on the GitHub page, just go there. You can see the CSS for that lesson. So here, if we go to number 3, and we go here to client, we go to main.css, and here you'll see everything that we used in this tutorial. So whilst I do have all of these and you don't, it's perfectly fine. I just don't like copying and pasting, so I just have this here. So once we use it, I can put it here. But you can just go copy and paste all of this code and then use it. If you want to get all of the CSS code right now, it's as simple as just going to the latest version, the finished product, and just copying all of the CSS and putting it in here. All right. Now that we have got that out of the way, I can just continue a bit here. Or let me just uncomment this because I'm going to use it here anyways. So this is just for styling purposes, of course. So it's just the task form and just setting the margin top to be like 1 rem. It's not a lot at all. Okay, then you can close this main.css. Make sure your Meteor app is running. As you can see here, mine is running. I'm just going to bring this a bit down here. And yeah, then we can get started. So we are going to create a task form, and we're going to put it right about here. So let's create a new file inside of our UI. So right here, we can say new file, and we're going to call it task form. So task form.jsx. I'm going to put my JSX template here. And perfect. So once you have this, we can just make sure that it actually works by going to app.jsx and importing it first. So down here we can say import task form, and there it's actually going to autocomplete it for us. So there we go. So task form from /task form, because it's in the same folder. For right now, I'm just going to do that for the extra bit of space. Control B if you want to do the same. And then right here underneath the H1, I'm just going to make sure everything works by just saying task form. If you get a hello world here, then everything works. So let's wait for it. And there we go. So there's the hello world. Great. So now we can go back here and start by adding a form. So I will just remove this div and say form. And this form will have a class name of task form. So it's just for styling purposes. And as you saw, it was just to add some padding or some margin. And inside of it, we want an input. And this is a feature that VS Code has where you can use these to create your elements. You'll see what I mean in a second. And this input we have type text. And then we also want a button that says, that's of type submit, and says add task. Press enter, and here we go. We can remove this action from the form, and then we can just make it look a bit better by doing this. Again, here we go. That looks a lot better. I'm going to remove this right here, the ID and name, and just replace it with placeholder. And this placeholder can just be like something like add new task. And we can just keep it consistent, so add new task or something like that. And if we save it, we should see this right here. So add new task and then an add task button. So currently we do need a use state hook. So we can go here back to React and just say use state. Whoops. Use state is a special hook in React that allows us to just keep the state over refreshes of components. So if you put some text in it, the text won't be refreshed or changed once a component reloads unless we tell it to be changed or something like that. So I'm just going to create a state here, and I'm going to call it text and set text. And here I'm just going to make it equal to nothing for right now. So the value of this input should be the same as that text. So I'm going to say value is equal to text. And I will just make the value of this input whatever is inside of here. So if we want to change that, we can just add some extra things here like SSS, do that, and this value should change to SSS. Now we want to actually modify this. So to modify it, we can just go here and say on change, and it can take in E, in E, and for event, and that E can just return set text, and in here we want to say e.target.value. So in simple terms, what this is saying is on the change of this input, take in an event. So it's going to take in this onChange event. This onChange has a target because this is the target since it is being changed. And in here we say change that value or get that value. And here we say set text to whatever is here. And it's getting the value of this right here once we change it. So then it sets the text. So the text gets set here. And if the text gets set here, the value in here will also be set to text. To give you an example, if we type this, then we don't get any problems with it. I'll show you in a second how it works, but for right now, that is perfectly fine if you can type without any errors or anything like that. So now we need to be able to handle that submit. I'm going to, right inside of this function, I'm going to create a function called handle submit. And this will take in an event, so it will take in E. And here we'll say e.prevent default. And this is to make sure that when they submit this form, it doesn't refresh the page. We want to keep everything there. We don't want to refresh the page. We just want to enter the data into the database. And then we can say if not text. So we're referencing this text here. So if it is empty, you can, if you want to, you could even do this is equal to an empty string. That is perfectly fine as well. Then we can just say return because we don't want to do anything then. And then once we have done everything inside of this handle submit, we want to clear this input box right here. So we're going to say set text to should be nothing. So once we handle the submit, this will be cleared. So just to show you how it looks, we can go on submit. And this on submit will just take in the handle submit. You don't have to specifically pass in E here since it will automatically be passed in as a parameter. You did have to do it here, however, because if you were to remove this part right here, this will execute as soon as this reloads or as this loads, and we don't want that. We want to let this execute once this has been changed. So yeah, that's why we had to do it here, but we don't have to do it here since we're not really getting anything specific of that right there. Anyhow, so once we do that, if we save and it has finished refreshing, if we go here and I say hello and I say add task, then as you can see it clears the task. And if I do that, it doesn't really do anything. If I add spaces, then you'll notice it also clears the task. And we don't want that. So what we'll do is we'll go here to text and just say .trim. And this will make sure to remove white space. So if they if the user decides to add just white space inside of this box, or go white space like that and add something here and then add more white space, it will remove the white space and just add this. Otherwise, if they just add white space there, like I'm doing right now, so this is just white space, and say add task, as you can see, it's still there because we can't accept white space. As if we say trim, it's going to remove all the white space from the beginning and the end of the string. So we just say return then. So if that works, then well done. Next up, we need to be able to add the data into the task collection. So I'm going to go up here and say import task collection, and then from, and we can say slash imports slash API slash tasks collection. And then if we just go here to make sure we have it right, so it's an import. So let's see here. Import is right here, all right. Inside API, and it's task collection. So we should just go like that, and then it's there. So perfect. Once we have that imported, we can just close that. And here before the set text, we can insert the data into the database. So task collection dot insert, and this will just insert the data into the database. And we want to insert two things: the text, so text dot trim, and yet again this is just to remove any white space, so we don't have a bunch of white space here at the front or at the back, confusing the user later once they look at this again. And after that, we want to have a created at, and this created at will just keep a date object. This date will allow us to sort it so that the one with the latest date is here at the top and the one with the last date is at the bottom. Perfect. Once you have done that, we can actually try it. So let's just wait for a refresh, and in here we can say, yeah, let's keep that white space here just to show an example. Eat pizza, come on, add task. As you can see, it says eat pizza, and there's no white space at the front because we trimmed it right here. If we try and add a task that does not exist, it won't add it. Just try and add a bunch of spaces, it won't add it. And no matter what we add here, we can just do that, and there we go. So now we add data to the database. Problem is, we can't really see which of these have been added last or first, or yeah, last, because we want this to be here at the top. Because if you add a new task, you don't want it to be added at the bottom, because newer tasks usually takes priority. So to make sure that happens, we can go back to app.jsx, and here with tasks, where it says find and fetch, we can go right here after find. We can just say more brackets and then sort, and we want to sort it when it was created at and then -1. So we are saying, okay, find this created at right there that we added, and then sort it by -1, and that just means sort it in reverse order. So you can see now it's in reverse order. These will stay in relatively the same order because they don't have a created at, so they'll be in their default sorting arrangement. If you want to actually see this, we can actually open up our MongoDB or NoSQL Booster and visualize how it looks. Once you start up your NoSQL Booster, it should load everything in automatically, so you do not have to enter anything extra. And here it has already selected tasks, and it will probably run it for me in a second as well. As you can see here, it currently sorts it by the ID -1, so the one with the lowest ID value will be last, and one of the highest, I believe, will be first. So here, I don't want to do that. I'm going to say created at, just so we can have the same sorting that we have here. And then I'm going to run it and see what the output is. As you can see here it is, and there's the created at with the date. Here's the pizza we added, and with the created at as the date. As you can see, this was 1306.58, and this is 1307.15. And here these don't have it, so they'll just be ordered as MongoDB sees fit. So yeah, that is how we can add a few data to the database as well as ordering it. In the next video, we'll be looking on how to remove tasks as well as check them if you have completed them. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all again in the next tutorial.